Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant. Here is a compilation of one of the ongoing plot lines of my fan fictions that are used to explore and demonstrate the setting of Warhammer 40k, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. Many an entry is the result of a vote, as I will leave them on a cliffhanger, and then get the gentle listeners to forge the narrative by voting in the comments, so they can control the direction and events of the story. So if you enjoy any of these stories, then do watch the weekly entries on the guides, and prepare to exert your own influence and vote on the storylines. Now, I very much hope you enjoy the following compilation. The man on the slab had awoken and immediately began to scream. As the shadowy figure above him moved from the light, the prone figure saw him ostentatiously press a button, and the sound instantly ceased. The control of his vocal cords severed, as he felt a twitching in his very cerebral cortex, his brain. The thing above him hove into view properly, and his ghastly visage would have silenced his victim anyway. It was not the features of his face, the formation of which was clearly human. It was the eyes, those terrible eyes, reflecting a soul so dark, so twisted, that to witness it was akin to looking into the very darkest cavern of evil itself. The lips moved and sound came out, strangely normal for a being who was inarguably wretched at every conceivable level. No, do not tense up, do not fear. You are not to die this day. The figure moved from the light toward a workbench festooned with a host of syringes, utensils, and bubbling concoctions. Like a mad scientist's laboratory, it was replete with arcane objects of past times, forbidden technologies. Huge cylinders containing liquid and the shadows of things that could be human dotted the room. Movement signaled that whatever was within them was by no means dead, and clearly in discomfort, by the way they constantly thrashed and timidly and imploringly thumped on the clear glass-like material of their containers. The mostly bald man continued his ministrations as he spoke, his form much larger than that of a normal human, with whipcord muscles bulging beneath the white of his scrubs. "I know you are a feared little mortal, but you should not be. You should rejoice. You are on the cusp of a magnificent transformation, an elevation of your very fibers, your very form. I am about to raise you up to a height your dreary little mind could not even fathom. You are about to become." He turned toward the constrained subject again and continued. "I am about to give you the gift of power, the gift of intelligence and longevity. When I am through, when I have completed your transformation, you will weep with joy. You will crash to your knees and want to sing with the splendor of your new being, to give homage to me for this gift. Your Lord volunteered you above all others for this gift. You are chosen. Thus will I make of you a god amongst the slime of humanity. You will be a new man. But why do I, a genius, waste my time thus? Simplicity itself. Your Lord has something I want. A drop of blood here, a strain of DNA there. Rare. Enough for a week of my skill alone, but rare nonetheless. Now close your eyes, human. I do not like to witness the fear in them, the terror, when you are actually receiving the greatest of gifts your kind can have. My immortal skill, the result of my almost eternal labors. Rest now, for when you awake, the galaxy itself will be yours to do with as you wish." Isaac Ariman. I stride the galaxy akin to a god. Reality is my plaything, the forces of its warp and weft. I can restructure all I witness to my will. I know 1,000 secrets, a vast array of names, rules, and objections. I am the fulcrum of destiny wherever I tread. Yet there is one thing I cannot control, cannot master, cannot abide. My dreams. Most who know my name think I am the epitome of all that is wrong in the universe. Witch, sorcerer, heretic, all epithets I am accosted with, but own. I behold the rotting corpse of the empire I helped win so long ago. It exists in no small part due to my own labours, mine and my brothers of the 1,000 suns. Yet I do wonder why they defend it so ardently, these corpse worshippers. Their empire is a festering adult cadaver in comparison to the dream for which I strode out. Yet all of this does not stop them, denude them of their power. My dreams. I see myself with my colleagues. We are performing the ritual, the rubric. My mightiest work, my greatest art, my most terrible hubris. I look on as if I am another, for in the dream I am. And I witness my own error, my own nemesis, my own failure. The power rises, and I see the temporal, atmospheric, and etheric disturbances as I reach the climax of the rite. I look so powerful, so righteous, so certain. And it happens. I tie out the last strands of energy, form the last liturgies on my tongue, and bellow them into the air, and it begins. But I do not witness it as myself. I experience the change as one of the victims of my own incompetence, my own arrogance. I am one of the many, not the few. I am one of the Marines, not the wizards who perform the rite. And my flesh is burning. But not from one source, not from one place, impact or assault. I am burning. Every last muscle, sinew, hair, tooth, eye even. All of the atoms in my body burn at once. A conflagration so spontaneous and complete that within seconds I am nothing but ash. But the pain, the feeling of betrayal, the smashing of my psyche, my soul, as much as my body, this I cannot escape. My mind, my being, my sentience is sent elsewhere. I am falling, forever falling, in darkness without distraction, without respite, without relief. I am falling. And I will never stop falling. Nothing around me, nothing above, below, or to the side of me. Darkness all. And yet my stomach always tells me, I am falling. My mind consumes itself as I have no point of reference, no escape. Nothing but the memories coming back at me in jarring segments, without context, without meaning. I see what could be another's life, another's experience, another's sensations and deeds. I become rubrique. I wake, my mind back under my control again. I despise this dream, this curse, this constantly calling night spectre. What have I done? I did what I thought would be the only thing I could to save my legion, my brothers. Yet I was a fool, a child playing with powers beyond my ken. I've learned so much since then, yet still the final keys escape me. A test is this. A gauntlet thrown down by the Lord of Change. I have striven for so long, left no stone uncovered, no line of inquiry unexplored. Yet it is only when something happens that the dreams return. Something of moment, something my mind will not allow me to ignore. And thus I identify the reason for the return of the spectre. Ivrain, the she-Eldar, a worshipper, nay, a herald of the newest god, the Eldar god of the dead, Inyad. We confronted each other. But in the tides of battle, what did I see? The impossible. Hope. For she managed to restore some of my brethren to life. Proper life. Not dust and degradation. With but the wave of her hand she reconstituted them. Made them new again. Brought them back from being automatons filled with the science of time. Perhaps she is the key to the conundrum. Or perhaps she is a foil placed in my path by my very own lord, Tzeentch. As I get closer to a goal it does not wish me to attain so quickly. Perhaps. The most profound and important of all words when one treads the path of the Lord of Change, the master of the occult. Perhaps. I just can't believe it. It's beyond comprehension. How quickly things can change. How swiftly one can go from being at the top of the heap to staring oblivion in the eye. My first command, finally, after all of these years of work and duty, and one man has changed all of it over the course of a single hour. One man. Well, I call him a man. I'm not sure that description fits. As I looked through the screens that show his bloody wake, I am not sure demon is strong enough a word. Things were going so well. No issues amongst the crew, no issues with the ship. All was going just swimmingly. I ran to stretch your legs and get your feet under the table, is what I was told by the Admiral. A walk in the park. And it was. We chased off a set of raiders, and our new crew had won their spurs. Everything was just dandy. But when we returned to our port, Holy Throne, we saw a vision from a nightmare. The base in flames, the Admiral and his flotilla gone. Wreckage and refuse, replaced with what had been 20 ships, some of them line vessels at the peak of performance. Now so much charred remains and twisted metal, all gone. I was staggered, I freely admit it, a moment of shock that caused all of this. We should have turned tail and rabbited immediately. But I froze. I did nothing as the bridge transformed into a rabble. Froze as I was informed that a boarding pod had been launched at us. Froze when they hit us, and its payload started to rampage across our decks. Only when the screaming started over the Vox did I snap out of my wide-eyed confusion. The intruders had broken into two groups, you see. One was heading towards the engine rooms, the other was heading towards the bridge. So few of them. I laughed at their audacity when we gained screen confirmation I could see. A group of only 9 heading toward the engine room, power-armoured and twisted beyond reckoning, parodies of Astartes. But only 9. My men were well versed in boarding defence. I did not know why the units that the XO had scrambled to the side had fallen so quickly, but I was so certain that these mad traitors, for they could be nothing else, had bitten off more than they could chew. What made me laugh out loud, dismissively, arrogantly, was that only one of them had taken the pathway to the bridge. One! They were insane. They had to be. All of them. But one? One would take the bridge? My amusement gave way to rage at the effrontery of it all. I bellowed for other men to converge on the main corridor and end this scum, then move down the ship to crush the group heading toward the engine room. That was nearly an hour ago. Nothing has stopped him. This one madman, This one terror. He has used that horrific axe of his to chew through over 200 of my best trained men. We turned off the screens after watching him in action for only 5 minutes. A speed, a skill, a sheer unbridled fury that I've never even conceived was possible. He just hacks through everything and everyone we have sent at him. That clanging. It's the door. He is at the door. He is hacking at it and has done so for a few minutes now. Even an Astartes would not be able to get through that door. Not by just hacking at it, but his axe bites and chunks come off. Small chunks, but chunks. He is unstoppable, unappeasable. We all know. We all look at each other with mournful resignation. Some have guns out, some are hiding. But it will do no good. He will come through that door. And when he does, we are all dead. Never before have I witnessed such rage. We hit the city with a fusillade of smoke canisters and high-impact incendiary rounds from fires, all obscuring. Within moments, the entire cityscape is covered, utterly covered. Chaff is filling the air along with smog and smoke. The defenders are now shooting into the dark. They cannot see. I perform as I have across 1,000 battlefields, across tens of centuries since we originally raised our flag on Istvan. Yes, I am what is called a veteran of the Long War, a war that has raged without respite for 10 millennia. Around me are my compatriots, my competitors. On wings of flame we descend, the raptor hosts of the Black Legion. We drop into the firing platforms and annihilate the gunners and their support staff. The way needs to be cleared if we are to make our 4-hour deadline for the taking of this world. 2 hours have elapsed, and our escalating assault now reaches its culmination. The few mewling whelps left in charge of my target barely deserve the name of soldier. Their attention on themselves instead of the skies. I finished all 24 of them in less than that many seconds, tearing them apart with my chainsword all too easily. My position secure, I look down on the battlefield before the citadel on which I now perch. Our message goes out to them over their vox. You have been lied to. Your commanders are using you to cover their withdrawal. In less than an hour they will be out of range and will fall silent. You are being used to cover their retreat. Surrender, and you will be fairly treated. You need not die for them. It repeats endlessly across their vox. I look down with my god gifts and see through the walls and crenellations. I see their command deep within the main barbican below the keep. All seems active but controlled, until my brethren of the warp talons slice their way into reality amidst their screens, chairs and carcasses. The warp talons make short work of the marines and officers inside. Only a few of those who are here today wear the blue of the ultramarines, but not even their power armor will save them. The vast majority are of the guard, mere mortals standing to defy the passing of giants. But we know what they will do, where they will be, when they will advance, when they will retreat. Like a pantomime I have seen 100 times, they fall back on the ropes instilled in them by their dogmatic adherence to the Codex Astartes. Hence all of us have studied it, all the better to defeat them. We know exactly what they will do. It is almost child's play to corral them, to destroy them. The warp talons are soon joined in the Astartes section of the defences, a mere 100 feet away, by a teleportarum strike, as a score of the Guard of Abaddon appear out of thin air. Fire erupts from them, and scythes through the command of the Marines as if they were wearing paper bags, not power armour. We know where to shoot, when and how. The carnage is great. Some put up a valiant defense, even challenging our officers in melee, but they are swiftly swept away. Warp Talons making sure no stragglers escape the slay stack. My part played. The defences are gone. And as such, 5 dropships thunder across the landscape, landing at different areas of the army, cutting it into pieces and then surrounding them with tactical devastator units. You have been lied to. Your commanders are using you to cover their withdrawal. In less than an hour, they will be out of range and will fall silent. You are being used to cover their retreat. Surrender, and you will be fairly treated. You need not die for them. We clear out their defences, culling as we go. But they will bend the knee, or they will die. Commissars are overrun, as across the battlefield we hunt these vertebrae. Again, we know where they will be and in what numbers. We remove them and key staff, like surgeons. Soon this army will be ours. Ours to hurl at another of its kind on another world and smash both in the name of the dark gods. But in so doing, we will take another objective in our onward march out of the Eye. As our forces move through the tentacles like smoke on a hurricane, they are soon met by lines of men on their knees, hands behind their backs in defeat. Entire companies of them, as intended. Pockets of resistance are swiftly crushed at a frantic pace. The more brutally this is done, this cancer of resistance is removed, the more of the body we will retain. This army is now ours. All it would take is to thin the herd. Any NCOs, any weaklings, they must be dealt with. The NCOs, the day-to-day leaders, they are segregated. Then they are fed to the Warp Talons as tribute. There shall be trials, of course, to deal with these elements, the weak. But when we leave this planet, those that come with us will be hardened. They will be warriors of the dark gods. Warriors beholden to the Black Legion. The bridge was as silent as a grave. The cogitators still whirred, the lights still flashed, displays still blurted out reams of information and analytics, but all its crew were now silent. Every person there had stopped and turned, oh so slowly, in utter shock. The one word had been used, a single word that none ever wanted to hear, ever dreamed they would hear given as an order. The shock was palpable, the horror only now dawning, as the eyes of all who looked at the Inquisitor widened, as realization sunk in. It was not a discursive point, a suggestion or an option. It had been given as an order. And there he stood. The cold, sterile simplicity of his garb, his height, his composure, his stance, all exuded authority, and for some reason, threat. Perhaps it was the sigil he wore openly on his chest, the single letter, the icon of authority. He was of Holy Inquisition, but not just that. He was Ordo Malleus, the demon hunters. Only the captain could hold his gaze, only he would dare to speak. So he did. "We have lost many millions of lives already. We have fought for months, local forces for years. We have soaked the ground of this world red with our blood, shed countless brave lives. And now, you say that now, when we are so close, now? Justify yourself!" The captain quickly went from frothing and puce-faced rage to ashen, as the Inquisitor turned his glare on him languidly, and said but 2 words.
"Pardon, Captain."
The statement hit those assembled like a thunderbolt. All flinched. The closest looked away from the scene immediately, not wishing to be included in the potential repercussions. Only those out of the sight of the willowy man in their centre continued to view directly. But all listened. I meant to say, are you certain? I am not questioning you, Inquisitor Valliard. I am just making absolutely certain of your directions, said the captain with a single bead of sweat rolling down the back of his neck. He knew he was the closest to death he had ever been in his life. He could see it in those cold, dispassionate eyes, ones he could barely look into, but his crew were witnessing this exchange. It was one of the hardest things he had ever done, holding that eye contact.
Due to your long service in the name of the Emperor, I will answer you once. Yes, I am certain. Our time has elapsed. Our enemy has won out, or so they think. The ritual nears completion. We did our best. Your men are to be commended. Those warriors on the surface have served the Emperor well. But if we allow the ritual to be completed, then we risk the entire sector and every soul therein. We have failed.
A 6-month campaign. A death toll so high it would make a hive world into a ghost town. All had been done to save the world. All had been done to stop the cults performing their infernal rituals. But now, after all of this time, all of this loss, all of this carnage and struggle, they had failed.
As a member of the Holy Inquisition, by the power invested in me by the God Emperor himself, I order exterminatus! Act now, or I will find someone who will.
This last statement was married to a slow movement of his hand to his sidearm. A strange weapon none had seen before, but undeniably a gun of some form. And none would gainsay him or refute him if he drew it and shot their captain right there on his own bridge. He was an Inquisitor. He was the Emperor's own hand, and all feared him too much to even consider refusing him, even if he were not one. The captain drew himself up and saluted formally. When his arm came down, his shoulders showed their sag, a defeated, despondent sag. "Prepare cyclonic missiles," was his order. The tactical officer gravely nodded at the captain, signaling preparedness, and with one word, one command, the world below was doomed. "Fire!" The Inquisitor turned his head slowly around and addressed the entire bridge.
What you see now is the price of failure. But rejoice! For in witnessing this, you now have the fire of the Emperor's wrath in your hearts, your minds, your every action. Next time, you will not fail, for the Imperium is eternal, if we but believe.
A single missile shot from the front of the ship toward the planet. It flared slightly as it entered the atmosphere. For a few moments nothing seemed to happen. While the bridge crew looked at the Inquisitor, they were not watching their displays. Was this his intention, or a coincidence, thought the captain. From one point of origin, like a deathly flower opening wide, the bloom of fire expanded as the atmosphere of the world turned to fire. As unwatched screens showed thousands of men and women, tanks and transports covered in a firestorm. Every being, everything on that world would die in the cleansing flame of utter annihilation. Nor would life ever flourish on this planet again, its atmosphere stripped away. It was to be forevermore a dead, lifeless husk.
You think I'm soulless? That I am callous beyond repair? That I have no humanity left within my carcass? Child, I have seen the depths of depravity the human spirit can offer, the whims of the demon enforced upon mortal husks that blindly serve them. I do what is necessary to make sure the whole of humanity can sleep at night, and my job is thankless. I may commit many thousands to screaming death, but all become silent in the holy absolution I provide. But I don't need the thanks of chattel who barely understand how things work. I do my work in the Emperor's name, and that is good enough for me.
I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you've enjoyed the story so far, and will join us on the weekly entries as a result, and will like and subscribe. If you do, then hit the notifications button, as I would not want you to miss out. And so, from both myself and Mrs. B, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.